Hello everybody, my name's Dave. Thanks for joining me and welcome to the channel. Just before we start, I'd like to clear up a couple of things. We're 20 subscribers away from 400. We only seemed to get to 300 a month ago, and now we're looking at 400. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Please like the videos. If you wish, you can join me on Patreon. If you can't afford Patreon, please just consider buying me a cup of coffee. If you can't afford that, that's fine. Just enjoy the site. That's not a problem. The previous video I did forget to add something into that video. So if you just bear with me a sec, I'll have a look at that. And it was the walk around my car video. I completely missed the fact that I'd put an aftermarket transmission oil cooler in there and a new radiator. There is a video somewhere in my videos regarding the new oil cooler that is in there. I've put a link to it in the description anyway if you haven't seen it. So that's just an update. So let's get on with today's video. Today's video is going to be about the fridges, freezers, power draw, and which size fridge freezer is best. So fridges seem to be quite a personal thing, and people are very brand specific. For example, if you mention King's fridges, people often cringe. And if you mention Engel, their eyes light up. However, is this actually the case? This is not a review of fridges. I do have some of my experiences. It is not intended as a review. The document and video is intended to help people make informed choices when choosing a camping fridge/freezer. Also, I'm going to be watching the screen again because I'm reading from a text I've written. I will put it on the Patreon page along with the walk around text I did recently. Now, let's look at some fridge brands. So King's, 4-wheel drive Supercenter, have gone from damned awful fridges to not bad with their Stay Cool range. A generous nationwide 5-year warranty with a new for old policy has meant their fridges have become very popular, especially given their prices. King's make no bones about where their products are made. Their Stay Cool fridges have a compressor made in South Korea. Can't remember the make of it. My first foray into a camping fridge was a 60-litre fridge freezer, which from King's. It had a Seacop compressor. Now, fridge freezer was a very wide claim, and set on zero, it would be zero at the bottom and about 8 degrees at the top. This is inside the fridge. To get the top to zero, the fridge had to be set on around about -5, where you stood a bottle of milk in the corner, it would freeze at the bottom and just be cold at the top. Fortunately for me, the fridge had an electrical gremlin, and after 2.5 years, the Kings gave me my money back after they tested it and found there was a fault. Adventure Ridge. Okay, so they're sold at Aldi. Who makes them? It's a good question, this. Despite Aldi being mostly European outlet, the products seem to be made in China. At least this is what the product labels state. Unfortunately, the actual Chinese company that makes these products is not listed. This means it could be one company making all the Adventure Ridge camping items or a group of them. All depends on the agreement between Aldi and the Chinese. One interesting issue that has arisen during research for this article is that some of the products may state that the warranty is backed by the Outdoor Recreation Group, whoever they are. So my current 75-litre dual zone fridge freezer is an Adventure Ridge, which I paid $299 for. It didn't come with a case, but by chance, the 75-litre Kick-Ass is almost identical and their cover fits perfectly. I know that because mine's sitting in one right now. This fridge freezer seems to work extremely well and has a Seacop compressor. Engel, on the other hand, have that legendary status, popular with brand seekers and surviving because of it. However, Engel fridges have a compressor made in Japan, but the fridges are made in Thailand, regardless of what it states, or more appropriately, doesn't state on the Engel website. Old Engel fridge freezers are worth hanging on to, like that Da Vinci masterpiece you have locked up in your shed. They are sought after items and command high prices even second hand. Engel still use the Japanese Solar Fuji swing compressor, which comes with a 3-year warranty. This is from their website. Engel fridge freezers have become an Australian icon. For over 50 years, the leading portable fridge freezer in the country has continued to demonstrate its strength and reliability of service in leisure pursuits, business and health, along with many other aspects of the Australian way of life. From the red centre to the sparkling coastline, and the dusty outback to the steamy tropics, Engel portable fridge freezers are an ingrained part of this magnificent country. They conveniently do not mention where the fridges are made apart from the compressor, even on their frequently asked questions page. They have not got a question which on the internet seems to be asked a lot. Where are they made? This suggests that they may be trying to hide something. So Waco Dometic is an interesting one. Waco Dometic fridges have also come a long way since their inception. I think that they used to be separate brands, but every search I have done has brought up both brands being sold on many camping websites. The company was founded by two Swedish engineering students in 1920 and was acquired by Electrolux in 1925. Electrolux established the Dometic brand in 1968, so Dometic is Electrolux. However, a search for Dometic does not bring up Waco, and a search for Waco does not bring up the Waco company website, so I can only conclude that Dometic has bought Waco and closing the brand down, although it's just a speculation. My Coolman, they're made in Germany, where they claim they're built for Australian conditions. My first centre console fridge was a My Coolman, and I call it a fridge, it's a cooler. I still have it gathered in dust in my garage, which is the best place for it, to be fair. Granted, it was a cooler heater, not a fridge freezer, but it was not made for Australian conditions. The first week of hot weather in Victoria, in the plastic case where the strap band points started bending because of the hot days, the plastic was getting soft. I eventually stripped it down and used a heat gun to bend the case back into shape, and it was during that strip down that I realised that the insulation was just polystyrene, which is fine for cold, but this was also a food heater. Suffice to say, it never got tested. Anyway, that's enough about brands, let's get on with choices. Which fridge freezer should you buy? When looking for a traditional chest-style camping fridge freezer, people tend to look at them and say, that's big enough for what we need. Usually that's a 20, 30 or 40 litre. And I usually say to them, if you think that's big enough, then get the next size up, because in my experience, you can never have enough fridge space, and I have gone from 60 litres to 75 joule zone. In my experience, once you have a freezer, you can't manage without one. I also have a 15 litre centre console fridge freezer, which I use for drinks, but will keep beer cold and saves me opening joule zone all the time. So how long will it last, keeping the fridge cool? The question gets asked me so many times per day is, how long will my fridge last on my battery? And the answer is, how long is a piece of string? There are so many variables that it's just about impossible to guess, but you can give some average figures. If I use a 120 ampere hour lithium battery as a guideline, and you should be using a lithium LiPo 4 battery by now, a fully charged 120 ampere hour lithium battery will give you around 110 amp hours or more of power. So here is a list that may help with the question. At half an amp, you'll get about 220 hours, because it's twice the battery power. 9 days, no fridge access and a cover fitted, so every time you go in you reduce that. 1 hours run, 110 days, 4.5, no fridge access. All of these are no fridge access and the cover is fitted. 1.5 amps, 73 hours, 3 days. 2 amps, 55 hours, 2.2 days. 3 amps, 36.5 hours, 1.5 days. 4 amps, 27.5 and 1.1 days. And 5 amps, 22 hours and 0.9 of a day. So as you can see from the chart above, amp draws pretty much everything regarding the longevity of the fridge, freezer and battery. However, the variables that make this difficult to estimate are listed here. How much access? Every time you open your fridge, you let in warm air that needs to be cooled, especially in the case of upright fridges, because all the cold just falls out when you open the door. How big is the battery? Lithium batteries give out power for longer than AGM batteries. Example, a 120 ampere hour AGM is only realistically good for 50%, so in this case you would get about 60 ampere hours, which would mean you would get about 50% of the figures in the chart. Does the fridge freezer have a cover? A good cover will keep your fridge freezer up to 15 degrees cooler. But if there's no cover, the fridge will work a lot harder to stay cool. Amp draw of the fridge freezer. This is the biggest factor in battery life and how long the fridge will remain on. For example, the King's 90-litre dual zone draws 1 to 1.3 amps with a fridge set at 3 degrees, 32 degrees ambient temperature and a battery of 13.2 volts. Fridge battery protection cutoff. Most fridges have a battery protection mode that usually there are 3 settings. For example, the King's 90-litre dual zone has cutoffs as follows: high 11.1 volts, medium 10.4 volts and low 9.6 volts. Now I'll just say something on that. Actually, I've just thought of it. If you have a lithium battery, that's going to give you approximately 13 volts across the range, so you're never going to drop down to any of those, so it doesn't really matter what you've got it set on. However, if you have an AGM battery, you need to set it to high, because if you get an AGM battery down to 9.6 volts, it's pretty much at zero. At 10.4 volts, it's at zero. So set it to the high. So do you actually need a dual zone fridge freezer? Well, the answer to that is not at all. Many people are happy just having a fridge. This is fine for weekend camping trips, etc. However, for road trips and longer journeys, the dual zone means you can stay off the grid longer. Many people use a small fridge and a small freezer as an alternative. This has advantages and disadvantages. Firstly, if one fridge fails, you still have the other as a backup. With the dual zone or 2 fridges, you only need to enter one zone of the part of the fridge, saving the other one heating up and therefore saving some battery power. Some dual zones and dual fridges can turn the zone off if it's not in use. So you can unplug one fridge and you can turn one zone off. If the King Stay School does that, I know that. 2 fridges mean 2 lots of power draw, and you may need bigger batteries. Does size matter? Yes and no. Some people find that they have a limited space and can only fit in a small fridge. Others like me think, would you reduce your bed because you have no space? Likely not. So why reduce your food storage? Both are essential. This is usually the case with the larger upright fridges that can be fit into the car. One thing that always astounds me is the number of people who say our fridge is way too big, we want to downsize. Most chest-style fridges are no bigger than 90 litres, and most people look at the 75 and 90 dual zones and say they're too big. Yet they will happily fit an 85 or 110 litre upright fridge into their caravan. What they really mean is they want to be trendy. So what about rear drawers versus fridge slides? I did an article on the Titan rear drawers and recently noted that all pairs of drawers come with a built-in fridge slide on the left-hand side. So do they work? To a fashion, yes, they work fine, but there are some caveats to that as follows. The Titan 1300 ute drawers are lower than the standard single ute drawer. This is to accommodate a fridge on the left side, as any higher than the canopy window will stop the fridge from being opened on the slide. Also, the 900 SUV pair of drawers, the slide does not come out far enough to provide adequate access to the bigger fridges. So many people, what they do is they use 2 single drawers, one top of the other. This is to allow a fridge slider to be used on the base of the rear car, keeping the fridge low and allowing it to slide out further. Yes, fridge slides travel out further than drawers, especially in the case of the 900 SUV drawers. So what options do you have, fridge or freezer options, in conclusions? There are several types of fridge freezer available as follows. Center console thermoelectric cooler heaters. Not recommended unless you travel a lot. Center console single zone compressor fridge freezer. Recommended for camping, general use, or as an additional fridge freezer. Single zone fridge freezer from around 20 litres through to 65. They're a great choice for all round if you have limited space. The chest dual zone fridge freezer. A great choice for longer camping trips or road trips and can be quite large, but modern versions are less power hungry. The drawer fridge. Single zone fridge freezer. Great for working utes. Larger versions around 60 litres can become unsealed on rough roads. I should mention that the actual drawer fridges will take quite a lot of weight on the top, so they're great for utes because you can still open the front when you've got all your tools on the top of them, etc. The bigger versions, if you rock the drawer when it's closed, the seal can come away at the bottom. It doesn't come away at all at the top because there's a lever to hold the drawer shut. But because of the flex in the actual fridge drawer itself, it does come away, and I believe it's not only cheaper ones that do that, the Engel one does it too. And then we've got upright freezers with a freezer compartment. Great option for canopies or caravans. Bigger sizes can be too tall for many vehicles. So the 110 is much higher than the 85, if you know what I mean. So hopefully that's given you some information. Thanks for watching. I hope I covered most subjects here, and I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Bye.